Knife crime. Why is it on the rise and what can we do to solve this epidemic? That's the main topic on today's Chrissy B Show, the UK's only programme dedicated to your mental health and well-being, and I'm your host, Chrissy B. Now, they call it the reachable and the teachable moment. That brief window when a young person who's just been stabbed will be most receptive to a message about how to make changes in their life. A bit like when a good moment to talk to people about their diet and lifestyle is when they've just had a heart attack. Dr. Emma Sutherland, Clinical Director for Emergency Medicine at King's College Hospital in South London, says, when you say there's a 1 in 100 chance of that happening to you, nobody thinks they're going to be the one. But when you are the statistic, everything suddenly becomes relevant to you. In a recent report by The Independent, 63% of knife crimes committed against under 25s remain unsolved. And knife crime against young victims across England and Wales has surged by 69% in the last 4 years. Politicians and youth workers accuse the government of failing to act on the rise in stabbings and warned of the disastrous effect cuts to police and youth services were having on young people. Ministers have cited drug-related gang culture and social media as key drivers, but police have called for more funding to turn around the loss of thousands of officers, while voluntary groups have condemned cuts to youth services. Now, why do you think that we have such a big problem with knife crime in this country? Let us know on info@chrissybshow.tv, on Twitter or Instagram @ChrissyBShow, or post on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Well, today I'll be speaking to two young guests, Ife Davies, who carried a knife for protection, and Mark Higgins, who was stabbed 5 times and lives to tell the tale. I also speak to Ade Titilawo, who runs the biggest youth group in the UK, the Victory Youth Group. Now, he'll be telling me why he's organised a march against knife crime, which already has over 1,500 people signed up, including friends and relatives of victims. This all comes under the VYG's Life is Worth Living campaign, and the march is open to anyone to join. Resident psychologist Dr Audrey Tang will be telling us what she thinks is leading young people to a life of crime, and Helena Chard fills us in on the latest news. Now, behavioural issues in young people can begin from a very early age if they're exposed to abuse, which could lead to a life of crime in later years. Someone who knows this all too well is our resident child abuse prevention expert, Marilyn Hawes. Today, she'll be talking about child summer safety. I'll also be speaking to some of our resident guests, namely nutritionist Lily Suter, who'll be discussing how food can tame anger. And Dr Rob Hicks will be answering your medical questions in our weekly Doctor's Answers. But first, let's delve into our main topic for today, knife crime, with Dr Audrey Tang. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Thanks for having me, Chrissy.
Knife crime, big deal. It's always in the news lately. Why do you think there is such a rise in knife crime going on?
Well, the sad part is when we come to look at knife crime, we have to understand it from the point of view of the person who is holding that knife. We can't look at it from the outside and say, oh, well, yeah, I don't understand why they would do that. We have to actually look at their lifestyle and their motivation. Okay. And when holding a knife is the only thing that's going to protect you from something, or the only thing that's going to enable you to go about your daily life, then there is some sort of understanding as to why people carry it. If you ask young people why they hold a knife, 9 times out of 10 they'll say protection. They will know somebody who's been hurt by a knife, who's been stabbed, been killed, and all they're trying to do is protect themselves. But the problem is, the more people walk around with knives, the more instinctively they'll just take it out and use it. And when you haven't got a plan and you don't know what you're going to do with it, that is when things get out of hand, and that's when things happen. Okay. So it's a very difficult crime to understand, but it a lot of the time stems from a need for protection, and it's that kill or be killed mentality. Yeah,
which is very sad. Now, are there maybe some types of people that are more prone to carrying a knife and being involved in knife crime, apart from the ones that obviously carry weapons?
Well, the statistics would suggest that males are more likely to be involved than females. However, that is changing. And the sad thing that we need to remember is statistics are only part of the picture. They are what has been reported. There may be a lot of knife crime that's unreported. It often depends on the lifestyle. Sometimes, if selling drugs is the only way you can pay for your family, you'll do it. And then if you are selling drugs, you need protection, you'll get the knife. Knives are also very, very accessible. So again, whether you can say it's watching video games, whether it's social media, whether it's culture, it does tend to boil down to, if I don't carry one, somebody else will. And that's the fear. I
know this is a really hard question, but what, in your opinion, are some solutions?
If you're a parent wanting to talk to your child, one of the most important things is to be open. Seek to educate them but not alienate them. So it's very important to talk to them about crime, talk to them about the consequences, and those could be consequences to you, to the child, or to the young person, can be even to the family as well. What if that gang suddenly comes after the family, thinking about the threat? So thinking about that. It's also good to value education, to put a prize it, to see it as important, and to try and allow access to positive role models. That can be quite difficult, but there will be one or two people maybe who've been able to turn their lives around. Those are the people who it's helpful to have talked to that child. We as a community, we can do more as well, because there aren't a lot of youth clubs anymore, there aren't a lot of community centres anymore. So when it comes to, well, what are the opportunities for somebody in that sort of neighbourhood, well, there isn't anything. So maybe we can think about more community projects, more garden projects, more parks, that kind of thing. That can be quite helpful. I mean, I work with a wonderful, wonderful dance teacher. She runs a company called Beats Dance, and what they do is they specialise in after-school clubs for dancing. And what they're doing is they're channeling all that energy of those children, but it's not like a ballet school. It's not that sort of discipline. It's much more to do with, let's have some fun and let's unleash some talent, and let's show that you can achieve in a different way. It may be something also to say to your child, if you do find out that they are getting involved in something, is to say to them, I cannot support your involvement in this gang or this particular pursuit, but I can support you in getting out of it. So it's about remaining open with that child.
So you don't alienate them.
Absolutely. The worst thing you can do is make that child not want to talk to you. Because we all know you want to avoid a nagging parent, and then you'll start hiding things, and that's when things can escalate.
Turn to your friends instead.
Absolutely.
Audrey, thank you so much, and we shall see you again next week for another topic. Thank you. Well, everyone, now it's time to go to Helena Chard for the news around this topic. Welcome to the show, Helena.
Thank you, Chrissy.
So what's in the news today?
Gosh, well, lots and lots in the news. So we've had a very football-y time recently. It's really interesting to see Dele Alli, who I find very interesting. He looks like a young Muhammad Ali, I have to say. He's obviously England footballer, 22, but he's revealed recently how football saved him from a life of gangs, knife crime and general crime as a boy. Yeah, very interesting. So he luckily escaped the gangs, but he was brought up in a tough area of Milton Keynes, estranged from his parents, but in a way it did him good, because he moved in with a former teammate's parents, and they really rallied round and helped him, and look where he is now. He's he's very thankful as well. He's very aware that he could have gone down a slippery route. So good. I do love Dele Alli. Moving on to EastEnders for all our soap fans. EastEnders is going to be broadcasting an episode featuring real life accounts from real victims of knife crime. Next month, that is. I mean, at the moment there's an ongoing knife crime storyline, which an unfortunate one, Shakil Kazemi, was stabbed, unfortunately has died. So there's a lot of upset going on, but the true stories incorporated in next month's episode is actually quite groundbreaking. And it's really quite powerful. It's something new, and I think when they were doing research, as they do real research when doing it, they realised that these people had such a story to tell. So they're going to be acting alongside the real EastEnders characters. So I think that's really powerful. So I look forward to seeing that. I really do. Moving on to something interesting, I thought first I was a bit sceptical about it, then saw the relevance. So Home Office Minister Victoria Atkins has recently said that British parents should count their knives to check that their children haven't taken any. which actually is good.
Makes sense.
It does make sense, and also it makes.
You don't really have knives going missing normally, do you?
No, and it also makes you aware. You're constantly thinking about it, aren't you? And we know that people can access knives from different places, but I think it's quite clever. But also, it's not just for big cities; it's for the smaller towns as well and villages where county line gangs. They tend to be based in major cities, but they recruit troubled youths in those places to sell drugs. So that's quite interesting. One thing that I found quite shocking, I just want to share. So London's murder rate actually temporarily took over New York's for the first time in March. I don't know about you, but I always used to think America was like, you know, the big bad city, but you know, it's quite scary, isn't it? Yeah. Interesting to see. So the main thing she's saying is we need to intervene at an early stage, you know, and prevent youth from getting into criminal gangs and criminality in the first place. So it's about changing the system and obviously pushing to more of an educational system, which obviously costs money, but it's the way to go, I think, and lots of people think.
Definitely.
So there we go.
Thank you so much, Helena.
Thank you, Chrissy.
And we shall see you again next week.
Look forward to it.
Brilliant. Well, everyone, don't go away, because after the break, I'll be speaking to two young guests, Ife Davies, who carried a knife for protection, and Mark Higgins, who was stabbed 5 times and lives to tell the tale. But first, is this true or false? Self-protection is a reasonable excuse for carrying an offensive weapon. Find out the answer after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, and today we are exploring knife crime on the UK's only TV show on mental health and well-being. So before the break, we asked you if this was true or false. Self-protection is a reasonable excuse for carrying an offensive weapon. The answer is false. If you are caught with a knife, it doesn't matter if it was for your own protection or you were carrying it for someone else. You will be arrested and prosecuted. Self-protection is not a reasonable excuse for carrying an offensive weapon. Well, now it's time to speak to Ife Davies, who carried a knife for protection, and also Mark Higgins, who was actually stabbed 5 times. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Lovely to have you both on. First question though, Ife, did you know that you could get prosecuted just by carrying a knife?
No, so that's news to me.
Okay, so yeah, it could have been at risk there. Okay, so I'm going to start with you, Ife, before we get on to Mark's story. Tell us what life was like before and why you were carrying a knife in the first place.
Interesting enough for me, life wasn't really difficult in the sense of like financial, like I had my mother around, but I didn't have my father around as much, and he didn't live in the country, and there was times where he wasn't really allowed to see me. So when I got to about year 6, he just cut me off completely. Like he stopped seeing me for like years. And I'm not sure if I needed a father figure, but I definitely felt like I didn't have kind of a male protection in a way. So there was times where I was involved with like hanging around with like older guys near my area, just staying out late, kind of like the wrong crowd. But for me, it was those situations that I kind of got caught up in that made me feel like I needed to carry a knife.
Did you feel safer though when you had one?
I wouldn't say I felt safer, because the thought of maybe I could stab myself did come to mind sometimes as well. But in my mind, I still needed to carry it because I didn't know what was going to come my way. I wasn't sure if I'd ever use a knife, but I used to have like dreams of maybe people attacking my mum or attacking me, and I just felt from those dreams, I kind of felt like, oh, I need to just carry something. But I don't think I ever intended in using. Were
you ever attacked?
No, but I had incidents where I actually like witnessed a knife being held in front of me, a gun.
Really?
So that for me might have triggered a bit of that as well as the dreams.
Tell us about some of the problems that you went through as well, growing up.
Growing up, I was a really angry child, like a really angry child. And I think that might have stemmed from my dad not being there as well, and not really knowing what like I want to do or what I want to be. Like, I'll just follow my brother's example. So if my brother played basketball, I want to play basketball. So I was really like, just whatever my brother did, I would do. So that's what kind of got me to hanging around with a lot of guys and just being surrounded by that. But like one of the incidents that I said, like there was a day, like my area was really bad. Like just guys out like really bad. There was a day that I was walking home from primary school, my cousin had picked me up and someone asked him to see the time. And as he was bringing out his phone to check the time, the person was bringing out a knife and my cousin ran. And I was just left there in front of the person. And it's kind of, when you're young, especially in primary school, you don't really know. But I could hear my cousin saying, run, 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 but I didn't know what was happening. So
you had that in your mind.
I think I had that in my mind.
Very young age.
Very young
and what
age.
about later on in life? How did those kind of things affect you when you were older?
Kind of just surrounding myself with people that I thought could protect me if anything like that would happen. So I did know guys that would carry knives and stuff like that, but for them, their reason was protection. But then again, they were putting themselves in situations where they needed to be protected. If they hadn't put themselves in those situations, maybe things would have been different. They wouldn't need to carry a knife.
Were you happy with those kind of people?
I thought I was.
But you weren't, do you?
But I weren't. Okay. I thought I was because that's all I knew. Like you do the knockdown, ginger, football. So it's just all I knew. Until police started to get involved and you're like, okay, this is not really...
What would you say was the worst time in your life?
I think for me, when I kind of fell into depression and I started to like have suicidal thoughts. And there was actually even a point where I remember standing in the kitchen as well now that I actually had a knife against my belly and I was trying to push it in, but I couldn't. And I think that just kind of also stemmed from like thinking that I don't have a father to support me, comparing myself to friends a lot. I think in secondary school and primary school, I did have a lot of friends that had both of their parents in their lives. And whenever I'd stay over at their house, like everything just seemed so nice.
Everything seemed perfect.
Dinner table, you know, eating with them, they're both their parents. So I think a lot of things triggered into me just comparing that it just started to make me feel depressed.
Now your life did turn around and we're going to speak about that just after we hear also Mark's story. So Mark, tell us, you almost got, or you did get stabbed 5 times. Or what led up to that? What kind of life were you living?
So I'll say from the age around 13, because growing up, not like if I didn't have anything, so I grew up not a relationship with my mum. She was heavily addicted to drugs, alcohol. I see different men in the house. Had an older brother who saw every drug under the sun. And for me, that's what I grew up seeing. So I always wanted to be out the house. I didn't feel like I had a family inside my home. So I was always with the older guys, always with them, no matter what needed to happen. But also because of the financial state of my home, I think that's what led me to do a lot of things, you know, such as like in my home, there'll be times where we go 3 or 4 days without eating, you know, and my mum would be there struggling, but that's what I grew up seeing. You know, even though she'd be drinking and stuff like that, but we'd be there witnessing all these things, the guys beating her up and stuff like that. So with being outside and seeing all the older friends, you know, getting money illegally, I started going to things like to the countryside to sell drugs. You know, I started doing bank scams, literally anything I could to get my hands on money, I'll do it. And I started doing robberies. Literally, I'll finish school, put on a jacket, I'll go start robbing people already. Robbing people at knife point, because at first I never thought I would actually stab someone. It was more for show. It was more because my friends had one, I'll have one as well.
At what age did you start carrying a knife then?
14.
14, wow.
14. And at the age of 14, I was already in court with 5 robberies and an assault, where I got convicted and I got put in into the youth offenders program. I got a fine. But that didn't stop me, because as I came out of the cells, in the cells I was upset, I was crying. But I came out, everyone thought I was the man. And that just made my name go even higher, you know. And from then I got just deep involved into the gangs in my area, because my area was literally so bad for gangs, but I got so deep involved. Literally chilling with all the older guys. I had a girlfriend that, you know, her older brother was like the main guy, and I just started chilling with him all the time. So then it wasn't just robberies no more. I started getting involved in stabbings. I started seeing stabbings.
Did you stab anyone?
Yeah. I remember the first time that I did. It's kind of like when you first steal a sweet from the shop, you're first scared and you do it. And it's like, oh, it's not that bad, let me keep doing it. And that was kind of how it was when I first stabbed someone. I was scared, I was shaking. But then I was like, I felt powerful. You know, and all the times in my home that I didn't feel powerful because I see my mum getting beaten up, but I couldn't do anything, I was small. So this was me, like when I had, you know, a knife, I felt like I was kind of like Superman. I have the power now.
Okay.
You know, if I'd pull it out, you'd have to fear me now.
Did you ever feel bad afterwards, though, for what you've done?
I say the first couple of times I did, but then I started feeling numb to it.
Really?
I started feeling numb, like everything was
scary.
everything became cold to me, because it was kind of like, if I don't do it to you, you're gonna do it to me, and that's what I had in my head. I mean, there's many times that the way it was where I am is that if I can't get you, we have to go for your family. We have to go for we have to go through different avenues to get to you. And it came to a point I was just heartless. I was heartless, you know. And then even like all the things that, there was times that people came to my house, you know, they tried to kidnap my little brother and then he beat me too. I couldn't even move in my house. You know, they attacked my mum in my house. And these things, it wasn't like, it was never a wake-up call for me. I just wanted to get them back. It made me more angry, you know. So it was always like, who's got one on each other. Yeah. And that's how I grew up. And then even at the age of 16, on my 16th birthday, I was in court for another robbery where I got put on tag. And again, I was in secondary school at the time, and I was like, oh, maybe I need to change the way I'm living, because I'm 16 on tag, almost getting kicked out of school. People come to the school, they want to kill me. Even at my prom, at the end of year 11 prom, people outside the prom waiting to kill me with knives and stuff. So yeah, for me, everything was just crazy my whole life.
At what point did you start getting stabbed? Because it happened like 5 times, you said. So was this throughout all this that you're telling me, or was this other incident?
I would always get into fights. I would always get beaten up. But at the age of 18,
okay,
I got moved out of the area I was in because of how much violence. Literally, people was knocking on my door and stuff. So I got moved out of the area for my safety, but as well as, you know, because of how much of trouble I was causing in the borough. So I got moved out, but I didn't get moved out too far. So there was one time I went to the chicken shop, literally, and it was 30 seconds away from my house, and I saw as I was ordering my food, I saw 4 boys, and they was from the rival gang to me, and I was thinking, what's the likelihood of me seeing them here? So literally, they was telling me to come out the shop, and then even the chicken shop guy was saying, listen, you don't need to go outside, but the pride was there. So I said, nah, I'm gonna go outside. So like, they're not gonna do nothing. So the fight broke out, and I ended up on the floor, and I thought, this is just gonna be another punch and kick, until I heard a woman scream, he's got a knife. And this part, I just started panicking. I tried to pull one of the guys on top of me, so if anyone was to get stabbed, it would be the guy. But you know, then I felt this constantly on my back, on my back, but I wasn't feeling anything. Yeah. Then I got turned over on my chest. I was just feeling stabbings, and it was one that just felt weird. And then some people from the shop came and helped me, and then they ran off. Then at first it didn't really register that I've been stabbed. So I stood up, and literally blood just came from everywhere, gushing out my body. And then I just collapsed, and I got rushed to the hospital. And then it didn't really sink in that I've been stabbed, because it's like, you hear about this all the time. It's happened to a lot of my friends. My friends have been killed. Yeah. But for it to happen to me, I mean,
you never thought it would.
And things that being stabbed, it's the physical pain, but it's also what it does to you in your mind. I mean, I went to the hospital, but I mean, I was there for about a night, and because I thought people were gonna come get me in the hospital, I released myself early, ended up passing out again. And it was like the paranoia, you know, and even the week after I got stabbed, I tried to kill myself, because I was like, they're gonna kill me anyway. So for me, it was just like, the physical pain was there, but it was more of what it was doing to my mind. You know, the nightmares of what was happening to me. That's what I just really couldn't deal with.
Is that the point where you said to yourself, I need to change my life, or
no,
more happened after that?
Funny enough, that still wasn't enough. I went out and I wanted to get them back. It made me worse, because I was trying to put up a persona that I got stabbed, but I'm still here. I'm putting pictures on social media. I'm the man, like kind of like 4 man can't do nothing to me. And then what really got to the point is because I got beaten up again outside my house. But as I got to my house, I've collapsed, and my little brother saw me, and I couldn't move my whole body. Literally, I couldn't move. And then it was even my old friends that did it to me. And for me, it was kind of like, I can't trust anyone. I have nobody. My little brothers were there crying. You know, my mum was calling people saying, I think Mark's dying. And seeing the state of my family, I was just like, I have to change. I have to change my life around now, because it's too crazy.
Wow. Remarkable story, Mark and Ife as well. You've been through so much. Now, you both did, thankfully, find a youth group that really helped you both. There was like practical advice there and things that really helped you change your lives around. Just very briefly, what's life like for you now?
For me, I'd say I actually do have a relationship with my dad now. So he actually is back in my life as well, which is a good thing. But also I'm just more focused. You know, I'm at uni now, about to complete my last year. I'm working on my own business plan and projects. So, you know, and I don't have to worry about like depression or like suicidal thoughts. Like also just surrounding yourself with positive people and people that have dreams and are focused and driven as well.
Wonderful.
Kind of just keeps you on track.
Wonderful. Mark, everything that you went through, could you really turn your life around?
At first I didn't think so, because I mean, I tried the whole youth offenders, the counselling, nothing was working. However, when I found this youth group, I saw examples of people that have gone through my lifestyle and changed it around. So that gave me a bit of hope, you know, and now, I mean, now my mum's my best friend. It's literally, we do everything together.
Amazing.
My little brothers, they see me as an example. They don't, they witness everything I went through. They see me as an amazing older brother. They want to be exactly like me. You know, all the money situations and stuff that we went through as a family, we don't have that no more because I'm a working man.
What do you do?
I'm in recruitment.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I'm earning good money. I've got I've opened my own business, doing things legally.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and just trying to help people as well. I'm also in like going to like youth offenders where I was there for about 4 years. You know, I've given my story such as I'm doing now, and a lot of people have wanted to change their lives around as well.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm so happy to hear this because, you know, sometimes we hear so much doom and gloom on the news about how things are getting worse, and you kind of think, what is the solution to all of this? And we've got two brilliant examples here of young people that have completely changed their lives around, showing everybody that it is possible. But guys, I'm not going to let you go yet because we are going to be joined after the break by Ade Titilawo, who is the head of the Victory Youth Group, which is the largest youth network in the UK. Now, he's organised a march against knife crime and he'll be telling us all about it. But first, is this true or false? Maybe you guys can guess. By carrying a knife, you are much more likely to get stabbed yourself. What do you reckon?
True.
True.
True, true. All right, we're going to see if you're right after this. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, the program that loves to look after your mental health and well-being. And today we've been exploring the causes and cures for knife crime. So before the break, we asked you if this was true or false. By carrying a knife, you are much more likely to get stabbed yourself. The answer is true, according to KnowKnivesBetterLives.com, as situations involving weapons can quickly get out of control. So you were right, guys. Well done. So now actually it's time to speak to Ade Titilawo, who runs the biggest youth group in the UK, the Victory Youth Group. Welcome to the show, Ade.
Welcome, Chris.
Lovely to have you on the programme.
Thank you.
So amazing stories that we heard here. And this is just an example of the kind of work that you do.
Absolutely. As I was hearing this story, it's very inspiring because it just goes to show young people can change.
Yeah.
Families can be restored, especially with the example of Mark, who, you know, I've witnessed his change, and he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
And as you just mentioned, these two are one of many others who've seen changes in their lives, coming out of a broken life, a life of addictions, not going anywhere in terms of their academics.
Yeah.
And actually establishing their lives as young people who can be examples, especially in the society and the day and age that we're living in, with so many young people really losing their way.
Yeah.
They're coming from horrible backgrounds. And we believe in these young people.
Yeah.
We believed in Mark, we believed in Ife, and we believe young people can change. That's our message.
And it's so refreshing to hear that, because sometimes you hear a lot about, oh, we need more sort of places for young people to do activities, which is fine. We do need those kind of things, but sometimes doesn't really help, because the main issues that people are going through aren't being addressed. And one of them actually is people not believing in them as well, which is something really important.
Another thing that it's really important, which I've come to know working with young people now in these last few years, they want to be heard.
Yeah.
Young people want to be heard. They want to express themselves. And a lot of the times they don't find that at home. Sometimes they don't even find it at school. They don't find it at university. So they see the need to kind of unleash that with the wrong crowd.
Yeah,
and that ends up leading them to do, as we can see with Mark, even with Ife as well, and many others who've come to our youth group. And the moment they start to open up, we give ears to them, you start to really see that these young people have potential.
Yeah.
they can really make something out of their lives. We just need people to believe in them, and they need to be heard.
Brilliant, absolutely. I think it's remarkable. It's so refreshing to hear stories like this as well. After everything that we hear on the news and all the doom and gloom, to hear something like this is really, really uplifting.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about this remarkable march that you're putting together as well.
We are standing up against gun and knife crime. We just don't accept. Since the beginning of the year, it's been an epidemic, and families have been devastated. It's sad to see what's happening, and you know, the saying is, it's only a statistic until it's someone that you know, which is true.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is, you know, completely true. So we're standing up against it. We're going to be marching. It's a positive march. We did it last year. We're going to be doing it again this year.
You've got about 1,500 people signed up, isn't it? Already?
Yes,
yeah.
yes. We have around 1,000, definitely 1,000 plus, but it could possibly be more than 1,500, to be honest, with how we're promoting it. We've had families actually wanting to join, victims as well.
Wow.
That they see what we're doing on social media and they want to get involved.
That's brilliant. It's going to be on Saturday, isn't it? Saturday at 3 o'clock?
Exactly.
You're leaving from Finsbury Park area?
Yes, we're leaving from Finsbury Park and we're going to be marching all the way down to Wood Green.
Okay, brilliant. And what's the Facebook page if people want more
It's
information?
Life is Worth Living UK. Facebook page, Life is Worth Living UK.
Are you guys going?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, you're going. Okay.
Definitely.
Now, just a question for the two of you. Someone watching now that is from a broken home and they're thinking, I can't change my life, I'm in too deep, into so much trouble. What advice would you give to them? Start with you, Ife.
For me, I'd say that they can, and there is places out there, of course, that do offer help, that will actually sit down and listen to you, and not only just sit down and listen to you, but follow you through, check up on you consistently, and just provide time just to actually see your journey through, not just tell you what to do or, okay, you can change this by doing this, that and that, but actually following you through the steps of changing it as well, and making sure that they provide, you know, resources to help you get there as well.
Excellent. How about you, Mark?
And firstly, I'd say just believe in yourself. And many people don't believe in themselves, but you can be great. People there can be great, and also, as Ife was saying, find people out there actually care and want to help, such as the youth group. I remember when I first came to the youth group, I gave Ade stress, so much stress, but he always believed in me. So there's people out there that really do care about you and they really want to help you.
That's brilliant. Just one last question, Ade, about this. How does it feel now sitting here listening to Mark? Because you must have gone, like I said, you gave you grief.
It's rewarding, you know, it's priceless. It's priceless, knowing that he came from the type of life that he lived. And I've seen his process of change. As he said, quite rightly, he did give me a lot of headache.
And you didn't give up on him?
Not at all.
Amazing.
Kept believing in him. And up until today, I still believe in him. And that's why we are what we are.
Brilliant. Amazing. Guys, thank you so much for coming and speaking about this. All the best with the march on Saturday, 3 o'clock, everybody, Finsbury Park. If you want to join, then do visit the Facebook page. Thank you. Well, everyone, now it's time to speak to Marilyn Hawes, our child abuse prevention expert, on the dangers to your children over the summer and how to protect them. Welcome to the show, Marilyn.
Thank you for having me.
So today's topic is all about knife crime before we get into your subject matter. Now, do you think there is a link between a child being abused and then later on turning to crime?
I think so. I think it's much more complex than that. But I do think these children have got adverse experiences in their childhood. I also wonder how much it's revved up by social media and the violence on some online games.
Yes, true. Yeah.
But you can't just put a quick plaster on the top of it. We've got to really drill down into the mechanics of it. And I think that's the trouble with everything at the moment. Let's just throw a bit more money at it. You've got to look at the root of the society where it's happening and not be judgmental. You know, if you're in a gang, why are you in a gang? Maybe that's your family.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I wonder, has a knife replaced a fist? I don't know. You know, you used to see a brawl going on in the street and now it's a knife. Yeah. Has it become a fashion? I just think it's shocking, it's dreadful, but I think more needs to be done than just throwing money at it. I think we've really got to get to grips with it.
Okay, so today you're going to be talking about summer safety. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it's a terrible thing to say. It's 2018 and I know parents are going to be saying, oh, they're children, they're children, they're children. Yes, they are children, but when they're on the beach, this is the time when
the paedophiles are out there on high alert. They know the children are off for the summer. What are they doing on the beach? Now, what are your children wearing? I was recently in Spain, and there were children on the beach there, 8 years old, 9-year-old girls, just wearing bikini bottoms. You think, are you nuts? Are you bonkers? You know, cover them up, cover up what would be attractive to somebody to take a photograph of. Be aware of who's around you, who's got a camera, who's doing what. Everybody's got a camera now on a phone. You know, who's filming them. Some of these little lycra things that children wear now to protect their skin from the sun. You know, I'm not saying go around like Victorian times, but be aware who's on it. You know, who's looking, who's watching. Just open up your senses more.
Because most parents are kind of just watching out for like drowning and things like that. But instead of like, but now it's like they've actually just got to kind of think of the other stuff
totally.
as well.
I'm so thankful I'm not bringing up children now. I really am. But you know, it's true to say that, you know, when you're looking at sexual exploitation now, and you're looking maybe of a child of 12 or 13, who is approaching that child? It's about feeding your children with the information that's there to help them stay more aware. So if they're out in burger bars, whatever it is, and they're with their mates, that's great. But who is that other person that's come to sit alongside them? With exploitation, if you're looking at the hook, then the coordinator, then the predators, the hook is very often someone the same age. I think they need to understand, when you say stranger danger, they're thinking of somebody, a 40-year-old, 50-year-old. For sexual exploitation, it very often is someone their own age, and they don't see what's going on, and that person's the hook.
Okay.
So when we're talking about the beach, yes, and the clothing on the beach, please think about what your child's wearing. There's a 3-year-old with having sexy little kitten on the back of her outfit or something like that. Why are we sexualising the children? Keep it age appropriate. It's awful. It's dreadful. You know, there's plenty of time later on when they can wear that stuff.
I remember I was in a shop once and there was a little toddler just trying to like shoes. We were about 3 or 4 years old, and the mum was going, "Oh, you look so sexy. Don't you look sexy?" And I was like, don't say that to your child. This was a few years back. Don't say that to your child. You shouldn't want to look sexy at that age.
And if you think they look sexy, what's the person of ill intent thinking? They must be absolutely, you know, salivating over it, you know. Yeah. But this is the season where the paedophiles are out there watching on high alert. Don't give them what they're looking for.
What would you say suitable wear them will be? Because obviously they're going to wear their little
nice bikinis, obviously little swimsuits, trunks, but don't sexualise it. That's the problem. Don't have all these messages written over them. And I always sound like a dinosaur, but if you want to prevent the harm to your best ability, keep it age appropriate, and you know, just watch who's around and what they're wearing.
Thank you, Marilyn, so much, and we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, don't go away, because after the break, we'll be joined by Lily Suter talking about foods that tame anger. And Dr. Rob Hicks will be answering your medical questions in our weekly Doctor's Answers segment. And one of the questions we received is this one. Why do I feel constantly hungry when I'm about to get my period? Find out the answer after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, where we've been exploring knife crime. And if you've missed any of this show, please do visit our YouTube channel in a few days' time, which is Chrissy B Show. Well, now we have on Lily Suter, our nutritionist, and she's going to be talking about the link between the kind of food we eat and also curbing anger. Because as we know, sometimes a lot of issues can happen because people are in bad moods, they're feeling angry about something. Of course, we're not saying that we're going to cure knife crime through nutrition. However, every little helps, I would say, because if a person's feeling a lot calmer, it could resolve quite a few situations. So Lily, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I guess when it comes to nutrition and anger, I think the first thing to focus on is just making sure that you are having sort of 3 meals a day, you're having enough snacks throughout the day, and in essence, don't really skip meals, because what happens is as soon as you start skipping meals, your blood sugar drops, and this is a prime trigger for people to feel irritable, feel anxious. A lot of people get that kind of hangry feeling, and it kind of primes us just to be more stressed than we usually would be, and it doesn't prime us to be able to deal or manage with stresses in a calm way.
Are there any foods that actually make you feel bad and like make you irritable, would you say? Or is it more like adding things into your diet that can help?
Both, yeah. There are things that can make you feel more irritable. So too much caffeine can make people feel jittery and anxious, and we all have different sort of tolerances to caffeine. Some people, you know, get jittery and anxious after 1 cup. Others can have cups all throughout the day and evening, and they sleep absolutely fine and it doesn't affect them. And what I would suggest is switching to something, a calming sort of tea, such as chamomile tea, which we know has calming effects on the body. It aids with sleep. There are other calming teas out there like lavender tea. And if you do struggle with sleep as well, which obviously if we're lacking in sleep, it can be a prime trigger for irritability, anger. It puts us in a state where we can't really deal with stresses in a good way. So cutting out the caffeine before bed and maybe switching to a calming tea like valerian root tea. It's, you know, if you have it about an hour before bed, it's meant to help with sleep disorders, insomnia. It's always good to double check if you're on medication if you start drinking herbal teas, because some do interact, but they're a natural way to help with sleep and to sort of calm the body.
Brilliant. Lily, thank you so much.
No problem.
Great advice there, and we'll see you again very soon. Thank you. Well, everyone, don't go away, because now we're going to be speaking to Dr. Rob Hicks. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Are you ready to answer lots of, well, not lots of questions. I've got 3 questions for you today.
Fantastic. Gold, silver and bronze.
Yes, are you ready? Okay, so this person is asking, why do I feel constantly hungry when I'm about to get my period? I already feel quite bloated, and on top of that, no matter what I eat, doesn't seem to satisfy me, and I have to try really hard not to overeat. This ends up making me quite grumpy and not the best person to be around. Please help. I feel your pain, I really do. Answer this question for us, Rob.
Yeah, this is
because I get the same.
This is a really common problem, you know, and the answer is it's not easy to deal with. And actually it's not easy to explain either, because nobody knows exactly why this happens for many, many, many women before they come on their period. There are a few theories. One is that it's related to the change in the female hormones in the build-up to a period, so in estrogen and progesterone, which, you know, sort of increase and then fall off. And you know, people say this is, you know, in preparation for a possible pregnancy. So this is, you know, that's one of the theories. Another theory is actually that it's the effect that these hormones have on chemicals called neurotransmitters, things like serotonin and dopamine. These are the chemicals that make us feel good, essentially. And that you know, triggers sort of a hunger as well. In order to feel good, we go for the foods that make us feel better, comfort foods. So we go and eat them, and then we feel a little bit better. And
then worse afterwards.
And then often a bit guilty afterwards. There is also a theory related to the fact that before a period, our basal metabolic rate increases, and that can trigger hunger as well. So that might be, you know, part of it. And the hormone insulin, there's a sort of increased sensitivity to that as well, which affects blood sugar levels, and that can be related to the hunger as well. So nobody specifically knows the exact reason why, but there are some steps you can take. You know, if ideally make healthy food available so that you're reaching for healthy options rather than the options, the comfort food like, you know, chocolate and, you know, cakes and stuff, which will give you a sort of sugar lift and then drop you down, which will make you feel a little bit more miserable as well. If these symptoms obviously are impacting your life in a significant way, have a chat with your doctor about whether there are any other alternatives, any ways that you can actually manage those changes in hormone swings.
Brilliant. Next question, Rob. One of my testicles is smaller than the other. Everything functions normally, but I just wanted to check if the different size is normal.
That's a really good question, isn't it? Yeah. The answer to that is, for most men, both testicles are a similar size, although it is quite normal for one testicle to be slightly smaller than the other, and indeed for one testicle to hang slightly lower than the other. What I always advise guys to do in this scenario, when you're concerned about your testicles or your balls essentially, is get them checked out by your doctor for a number of reasons. One is to make sure that everything is normal. That will give you a baseline from where to work from to identify any changes that may occur. But also, if you're not sure on how to check your testicles for lumps and bumps, yourself, your doctor will take you through that process, because it's very important to check them on a regular basis for changes. So if you know what yours feel and look like normally, it's easier then to notice any changes. Now, testicles are supposed to feel smooth. They're not supposed to have any lumps or bumps on them, and they're supposed to feel firm rather than hard. And the sorts of things we advise guys to look out for is obviously lumps that are on the front or the side of the testicle, any change in size, so if they feel swollen or enlarged, any pain or discomfort, any noticeable difference between what they usually are, or indeed whether there's a significant difference between one and the other. These should all prompt you to get them checked out, and certainly swelling of the scrotum as well is something that should be checked out. Never be embarrassed, and if you want to see a male doctor rather than the usual doctor who might be a female doctor, then simply say, I prefer to see a male doctor first, and learn about your balls, learn how to look after them, learn how to check them.
Brilliant. And last question for today. I live in a noisy area and it's quite hard to get to sleep. I've tried using earplugs, but for some reason they irritate me, can get rather itchy and are sometimes quite painful. Is there anything you could recommend that would work better? I've considered trying cotton wool, but I'm afraid of putting anything into my ears in case it gets stuck. Which is what you've spoken about before.
Yes, we always talk about, apart from earplugs, obviously, you should never put anything smaller than your elbow. But obviously earplugs don't go right inside. This is a tricky situation for you, and one of the things you could try actually is some olive oil. Put those on the earplugs that you've got, because not only might that reduce the frictional irritation of the earplug on the ear canal, but it might actually soothe the ear canal as well. So that's a very simple, and it can be just ordinary olive oil. It doesn't have to be really expensive cooking olive oil, just basic olive oil. You can also think about trying different types of earplugs, right? Foam ones, rubber ones, and these are usually available easily from your local pharmacist. I suggest also that you have a checkup with your doctor to see whether there's actually some irritation, that some dryness or maybe mild infection in the ears or in the ear canals, which is actually triggering the problem. But also try white noise. So you might want to use a badly tuned in radio or a fan, so that you're actually listening to that as well. And if you think that your bad sleep might be related to stress and depression, then please, please, please have a consultation with your doctor.
Definitely. Rob, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we shall see you again next week.
Yes, indeed.
And everybody, don't forget, all you need to do if you want a question answered by Dr. Rob Hicks, just email us on doctor@chrissybshow.tv. But now it's time to go to my final thought of the day. Well, everyone, we are closing the programme very shortly, and I'd just like to say how happy I was to have the opportunity to actually do a whole show regarding knife crime. We showed you some of the causes of it, why people turn to crime in the first place, but the most important thing for me was actually showing that there is a solution, that these young people, all they need, many of them, are just some attention and to be heard, as we heard from Ade earlier. Mark's story I thought was really incredible, how he's turned his life around. Looking at someone like him, you'd maybe think, oh, there's no chance for this boy, nothing's going to change him. And we see that with some care and with someone not giving up on him and giving him opportunities and helping him and believing in him, he was able to turn his life around. And that's exactly what we need to do with young people. We can very easily just look at them and judge them and say all sorts of bad things about them and criticize them, when in actual fact what they need is care. What they need is someone to actually believe in them. And when you believe in someone, that sometimes is all the motivation they actually need to turn things around. So I'm so happy for Mark, for Ife as well, and for actually covering this program today. And if you have a story that you would like to share, then please do get in touch with us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet or Instagram us at Chrissy B Show, or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Until next time, bye-bye for now.